Hello and welcome back. I've managed to get out in the garage a few times over the past week or so, but I don't know if I mentioned. I think I've mentioned it before. But next door having some building work done. So on the other side of that wall all day, all there is jackhammers and there's a little dump truck that moves up and down and a little digger and everything else. So recording a video and getting the sound in without that has been quite difficult because the sound quality on this phone isn't all that. It's a good phone, but it's not all that. So I've kept the videos that I've made during the week, and it's now the weekend, and there's some peace and quiet now, so I can crack on and I can upload I can sort of do the intro. So this is basically where we're at the moment, and what I've been able to get done over the past week or so. And I have hit a bit of a snag. Now I'm rapidly learning that when you're doing a project like this and you're rebuilding or you're customizing or whatever it is you're doing, you'll have periods where everything goes swimmingly, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is great, this is going really well, and and all of a sudden, that's it, and I've reached that moment. But I'll fill you in with that in a bit. So, yeah, this is just an update of where we are at the moment with the Loom. The Loom's pretty much finished, as much as I can get it done with what's on the bike. Everything that's on the bike works. Obviously, I haven't been able to test the spark or anything else like that because I haven't got any of that stuff fitted to the bike, but the rest of the Loom seems to work fine without issues, so I'm quite chuffed with that. The bike's now up on the paddock stand and an axle stand at the front because I've taken the forks off. I'll show you that in a minute because that's another one. And the engine casings are all nice and clean, which you'll probably see a video of that as part of this anyway. So stick around, stay tuned, and let's see where we get to today. Right, so here we have it with the battery set in, all the power around to the Loom, everything is connected up here, headlight is also connected. So, moment of truth, fire extinguisher standing by, that's ignition on. I think that is going to be the brake light because I haven't connected the switch up, I've just passed it, just connected up without the switch, so I believe that's the brake light. Headlights, or actually parking lights, lovely. Headlight, high beam, low beam, high beam and low beam, lovely. Indicator, front and rear, indicator, front and rear. Obviously I can't test the ignition or anything else because I haven't got those parts connected, but result, that all works. Sweet. We're back onto the engine casings, and I'm back using these little things with the Dremel, which has been going very, very well. I did nitro morse this because it was covered in lacquer, and I was trying several different things to get it off, and I just got cheesed off with it in the end and put nitro morse on it, which didn't work as well as I'd hoped and still left a lot, but it was easy to remove back with these, but you get through these very quickly. So this one is pretty much done, and I also managed to get that one done. They actually shine a lot more in this picture than they actually do, than they actually look in real life. But there we go, so that's that done. So the engine casings are pretty much cleaned up. I've got to rinse them off with something to get rid of the, because this is, if I understand this right, this is alley rather than steel, and where I've been polishing it or grinding it or whatever you do with these things when it does remove this aluminium dust. You get your hands covered in it, so I need to make sure all that is off before I paint it. And the paint I've got is this stuff, heat resistant 650 degrees C. Apparently that'll do. It doesn't require a primer, you just spray it on, but it does need everything to be smooth and clean and grease free. So that's the one I've got for that. So there's still a few bits on here that I've got to get rid of that I missed last time I was out because it got too late, and still get rid of all that in there as well. But apart from that, it's coming up really well, so things are progressing. So Oh yeah, and the horn. Cheap horn off of eBay. I thought it was going to be smaller. It's turned out to be this great big thing. Big as a wheels, look. So I will use that. It's probably not going to be the horn that stays on the TZR, but I will use it certainly to test with. I want to take these forks off because I've ordered a new set of seals. They're coming. It's just so that I can take this apart. I have done forks before, so I'm not too worried about this bit. Just so I can take these apart, clean them up, and make sure they're serviceable and usable. And this side I know isn't, because as you can see, the ring, the seal in there has blown, so they need to come off and get changed anyway. You should, well, you can just change the one, I understand, but it's always better, I've been told, if you're going to do it, to change two. So the new seal kits are on the way, so we might as well get them off, as they say. I've put the other engine frame back in so I can use it as a support to jack the bike up so I can take the forks off. So let's crack on with that. Right, so we've got it up on an axle stand, and the what the fuck that's called? A blue thing that holds the back end of the bike up. I've got it up on that, so it lifts the front wheel off. And then to take the forks out, there's a bolt underneath there, and then there's a bolt that does these on as well, and there's one at the top around here somewhere. There it is, one in there and one in there. I'll take those out. Wheel off first though. Next thing, because we're going to pull the fork legs down, we need to take the handlebar. I think these bits are called clip-ons, so I have to take them off before we undo the other two bolts, but I can't do that and hold the camera at the same time. So in the truest Blue Peter fashion, here's one I prepared earlier. So the clip-ons are off. I've put the fasteners, because each one has this bolt tightens it up round here, and then this one locates it so they don't move. And these fasteners I just put back in here because I am notorious for losing the fasteners. So put them back in, they won't hurt, they can stay there. And then undo this one, undo the one that's around the front here, and we should just be able to wiggle the fork leg out. Right, what happened is they started with the drilling and the bulldozing and everything else they're doing next door, and the sound recording on the video was crap, and the bit that I did manage to record, the sound went out of sync, and I couldn't get it back in for the life of me. So forks, I've managed to get them apart. Now this is a bung, okay, and that sits in the top end of the fork in there, and there's a circlip that goes in there as well. See if we turn that around. Not sure how much you're going to get in this light, but there you go. That groove, there's a circlip sits in there, and then the bung nestles up against that. And what you're supposed to be able to do is push the bung down, take the circlip out, and then remove the bung, and then remove the spring. However, in one of these forks, I can't remember which one it was, the circlip was there, and all that was holding in this bung was the rust, and on the other one all that was holding it in was a rusty old circlip which actually disintegrated, and the rust, even when you took the circlip out, the rust still kept in. But I have managed to get them apart. Basically I undid the bolt that was in there and slid it out, so the spring, the damper, is that the damper? The damper thing was all still inside, and the only way to get it out was to take my trusty rubber mallet and just twat the end of that so it would shock down and force the bung out, which it did. Now the bottom end of these have one of these, a damper rod seat. Now on this fork it's a metal one, on this fork it's a plastic one. I'm not sure which one it's supposed to be, but I'll have to get that sorted out. I had purchased a set of seals, but I think these were the wrong ones. I mean, it's not coming up very well, but that is covered in rusty crap. Even though that's a seal, that's what it was like. And you look at the fork end, or the top of the fork leg even, and you can see it's just horrible in there. Absolutely rotten. This bush does not want to come out. That seems to have just locked in there. That does not want to come out on either leg. The circlip here, I believe, is to hold the seal in, but the seal is very small and it started about there. So there's a hole, good 2 to 3, 4 mil maybe before it hit the circlip. I don't know if that's supposed to be there. That bush doesn't seem to be seated all the way down, and although you can't see it in here, that is filthy. There was water and all sorts in there. Not very nice at all, but I've managed to get them apart. Circlip, you can see, I don't know if you can, yeah, manky on the other circlips. This is in the fork leg, just yuck. And this was the one that didn't disintegrate from the top, which held that bung in. But yeah, that one's still rusty and nasty as hell. So I'm not sure about these. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to replace these. These ones have got some scratches on it down here, and this one has got some chunks missing out of it out here. The top end of this is rusted to hell, as is it the same with this one. Everything else doesn't appear to be too bad, apart from the damage around the top of these big dents and chunks missing out of that. So I don't know if I'm going to need, if they're salvageable, or whether I'm going to have to replace them, or they're salvageable, I'm going to have to replace them, or whether it's just going to be easier just to buy a whole new set of forks. But they did come apart. The other issue at the moment is this. This is a bolt. Then what it was somebody at some point thought it would be a good idea to use these aluminium bolts, but hasn't put anything in there like copper slip or anything. And as you come to undo it, it's all going well, and all of a sudden, snap. Lovely result, thank you very much. And that's got stuck in there. Now, I did sit by, as you saw at the start, a tap and die set which comes with these easy outs, I think they're called. So you drill a little hole and you put in a reverse thread, like I've got one here actually, one of these, which is a reverse thread. So you put it in, you turn it around the other way, and it's supposed to lock in and then start turning the bolt that's in there out. It didn't, it actually snaps. So that is a pain in the backside. I've got to get that sorted out. I have a similar issue because I had one on here as well, and that again is a snapped easy out. So, and I think there's one in the frame here which is just mullered, which came mullered by the way, and I've also found there's another one here that's in as well that needs to come out. So that's the problem. Now, I had watched a couple of videos on YouTube on how to get these out using that kit, and I had followed those instructions, but obviously something has gone wrong, and I'm now not sure how close to this edge, if that's now screwed this engine casing, whether it's now not usable because that's a bit too close. I don't know. On the plus side, I have got a spare engine. However, I'd rather not have to butcher that one because it's running. I don't want to butcher that one to fix this one, if you see what I mean. So, yeah, that's the next one to overcome. So, there we are, a bit of an odd sort of montage this week, if that's the right word for it. Like I said, with the builders going on next door, and they've just started up their little digger again as they're moving stuff around out the front, so I hope that doesn't interfere with the sound too much. But with the building work going on, the sound issues with the camera phone and everything else, it's been a bit of a pig to get everything filmed, get back home, check it out, find out it's no good. Now I've had to come back, like I said, today to just redo some of the bits that I just couldn't rescue from during the week. So hopefully that's done it, and the forks and the nuts and bolts and the snapped off bolts. Hopefully the footage of that is okay and I can use it. Yeah, as I said at the start, it seems to be when you're doing a project like this that you go through phases of, well, this is going really well and that's going on and this works and that works, and I've gone through one of those and all of a sudden, bang, you hit a bit of a wall. And with those bolts and the forks, I think I've hit a bit of a wall. So it's work slows down for a bit, if you see what I mean. You just got to, I guess the thing is just to struggle through the slow bits and hurry up and get back onto the good bits. I don't know. That just seems to be the way it's going for me. Fast bits, good. We make a good lot of progress in a short period of time, and then it sort of slows down where you have to work through a problem. And like I said, the problem I've got at the moment with the forks is how much of that is usable. Is it worth just replacing the forks with a different set? If so, what fits? Do I have to stick with the same forks? Is there a different set of forks that I can get? Are there better forks that I can get? You know, those are all questions that I've got to look into now. If these aren't salvageable, and with the bolts, I really need to find a way of getting those out. Like I said, I've got that tap and die set, the easy outs I think they're called, and they just snap off. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong there, but the chances are I've probably killed that engine casing, which it's a learning curve. I'm either going to have, if it is dead, I'm either going to have to repair it or replace it, in which case, you know, be a little bit more careful next time, but what can you do? So, like I said, that's it for the moment. Back onto odd shifts for the rest of this week, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to get out in the garage again. It may be that for the foreseeable, it is I video the work that I do and then put together like a montage whenever I get the time to sit down. Because taking the videos in the garage is one thing. It's a lot of time is taken when you sit down and you have to edit a lot of it, and you have to pull out the bits that are usable and the bits that aren't usable and so on and so forth. That's what really takes the time. And working 12-hour night shifts, I don't always get that time. See, now they turned it off. I don't always get that time. So it may be that I video the work that I do and then just do a like end of week update to see how we're getting on. Don't know, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's enough of my waffling. Hopefully there's some of this that is usable. Ride safe. It's cold weather. Wrap up warm. Don't take any unnecessary risks, and it is getting slippery out there, so take it easy, and I'll see you on the next episode of In the Shed.